Thanks for checking out this video. So it's time for me to do one of my favorite types of videos that I do, which is ranking and reviewing the Vinegar Syndrome releases that I got. This is for the ones from May, obviously, so I will be doing a review on each of the ones I'm going over. I did not purchase all of them, though, just so you know, but it's just the ones that I did, which, you know, it's a good amount. And then going in order of the one that I liked the least or thought that was the least great to the one that is the best at the very end. So let me just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to try and make this relatively brief though. But first, real quick, just to get it out of the way, please support me by subscribing to my channel. That's a free way. Thumbs up on the video, another free way you can support me. Hit the notification bell button so you know when I'm putting up new videos. And if you do want to get a little more involved to pitch in with all this Vinegar Syndrome I'm getting and reviewing, you can. I do have a link in the description for memberships. There are 3 different levels, and you get perks for each level, so you can check that out. So anyway, on to the Vinegar Syndrome. So my least favorite of the releases, sorry Justin the Liberty, it's Breathless. The cinematograph release of Breathless. Now, there's some decent special features to this one, including an interview with the writer-director, even though, you know, Breathless is a remake, but some would say it's so much more than a remake of the Godard film from 1960, or the 60s. I don't know if it's from 60 specifically, but one of my biggest problems with this film is it feels kind of aimless, unfortunately, but let me go ahead and tell you what it's about. It's basically about a guy who's kind of this petty criminal. He ends up stealing a car, played by Richard Gere, and accidentally ends up killing a police officer. So he wants to go on the run, but before he goes on the run, he has this woman that he can't stop thinking about. So he leaves Las Vegas, where he was, goes to LA, and kind of makes this plea with her to leave with him. And it's just kind of about him trying to convince her and also, you know, running from the law at the same time. So the story is a very interesting one, but my biggest problem with it is that I don't love the performances in this film for the most part. The 2 leads, Richard Gere's character and his love interest, I think his love interest just does not do a very good job acting, period. Richard Gere does a decent job, but it feels like there's no range to the character really, and this is one of my problems with Gere in general. I was talking to my best friend Rich, shout out Rich, and we were both kind of talking about how we feel that Gere is not a leading actor for the most part. I know some people would point and be like, you know, An Officer and a Gentleman, you know, American Gigolo, you know, films I haven't seen, by the way. And I do need to see those, though. But for the most part, everything I've seen Richard Gere in, he's either good in a supporting role or he's in a lead role, and I feel like he can't carry it, really. He just has no depth to him, and that's what I kind of felt from Breathless. The other thing about Breathless I don't love is it feels kind of aimless at times, and it gets kind of like lost in its own sauce, where it's just kind of languishing in scenes just way too long, and it just kind of made me lose a lot of interest in the film, unfortunately. But I will say, as is included with all cinematograph releases, the essays in here are quite good. Gives you a bit more appreciation for the film. Also, you know, this film, this remake versus the original, and also one of them was talking about McBride, the director's other works, and him doing neo-noir and stuff like that. And there's also production details in here, like a very lengthy section on production details. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think the right people will love this release. And apparently this is like a Quentin Tarantino favorite, so if that gets anyone interested, you can check it out. It's just really not for me. I didn't get a ton out of it. I got way more out of the special features than I did the film itself. I think there's a lot of issues with the film for me personally. So Breathless is my number, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Yes, there's 8 releases. Sorry. So yeah, Breathless. All right, so going to my number 7. I'm going with The Golden Child. Now, I didn't love the film, but there are some things that I did quite like about the film. Oh, and I should probably say, I'm sorry, I'm a little scattered. I should probably say about Breathless, stylistically, it looks really good. It's really well shot. So anyway, The Golden Child. I did really like the kind of wacky aspect of The Golden Child. It's basically about a character who's played by Eddie Murphy, who ends up, he basically is like a social worker who finds like missing children, and he gets contacted by a woman who is wanting him to find the Golden Child, who's kind of like this, supposed to like save humanity or something, and then he's in danger because this evil dude is trying to get him and kind of use him for bad and bring like hell to earth basically. So it's kind of like wild and ridiculous. A lot of people have said that it was kind of like aping off of Big Trouble in Little China, although they came out in the same year, so not really, but I think they came out in the same year. But it's Big Trouble in Little China's better. I will just say that by a lot. But there is some entertainment to be had in it. The kind of like ridiculousness of it, the effects that they do. There's some really awesome stop motion animation, which, by the way, there are features on here. There's one about the practical effects that they did, and then there's one specifically about the stop motion animation, and those are fascinating. Those are great special features. So this really does have really good special features. It also has really good essays included with it. And that's where, again, it's just like Breathless. Like, the special features and essays are better than the film, in my opinion. But the film, I think I will go back to it at some point, because the ending in particular, I did enjoy. It's just a lot of the rest of the film, it just feels kind of like unfocused. It feels more like it's focusing more on one-liners from Eddie Murphy and in his improvisational stuff versus like having fun or like doing, moving the story forward basically. Also, at a lot of times in the film, I feel like Murphy's performance just feels lethargic. It kind of feels like at times he just wasn't caring that much. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but that's how it came across to me. But again, The Golden Child, this is my number 7. Still am going to keep this one, and I will watch it again at some point. But again, love, love, love those special features and essays for this one. Also, I do want to shout out, there are some really interesting essays that kind of deal with Eddie Murphy in particularly, and how he, through his career, kind of had to navigate things being an African American, and at the time that he was getting popular, and how it wasn't possible for him to just straight up be himself. He had to be very careful about who he was trying to be and what films he was trying to pick, which is really sad, honestly, but very interesting reading. So, yeah, The Golden Child, my number 7. I make sure I put them over here so I'm not like having things fall over. Okay, so my number 6 is going to be The Dark Half. And like all of their releases that I got from May have essays, which I'm very excited about. I love that. I love reading the essays. Other than watching the movies, it's literally my favorite thing. I love it more than the special features. So The Dark Half is a George A. Romero directed film based off a Stephen King book. And it's about a guy who's a writer, a very successful writer, and he has this kind of alter ego that he writes with, who writes kind of like more messed up and dark things. And, his wife even says that when he's writing those books, he kind of becomes a different person in a way. Well, he decides that he's going to kill his alter ego, basically, but it becomes a problem because that is the dark half, and this is a horror film, and it becomes manifest, his alter ego, and he is fighting against that because it's coming after his loved ones and everything. So this film, really cool concept. I really love that. It is overly long. That's one of my biggest problems with it. It is so long for what the film is. I think it's about 2 hours, which no need for that. It's shot pretty well. The acting is really good in it. Again, love the concept. There are some really great scenes, but it just kind of feels like pretty much every scene is just so drawn out, unfortunately. And that just really kills a lot of the experience of this film for me. I think if there was a much shorter cut for it, which actually there might be that I just didn't watch, I'm not quite sure. But I typically, when I watch the films, I just watch like director's cut because that's what the director intended, Our essays in this one, the essays are really good, except for the one by, I gotta call it out, I'm sorry, he's famous, Daniel Krauss, who is an established writer. I did not like their essay at all, because it just felt like the individual was just stroking his own ego the whole time, including a paragraph in there where he just names a ton of his books, which just felt like a way to try and sell more of his books. So I hated that essay. I thought it was very pointless in this. But other than that, the other essays, really good. Really great essays. So really good special features with this one as well, kind of talking about the production. A lot of people talking about Romero himself. Unfortunately, it sounded like Romero didn't have the best time making this film because of the studio's involvement, which, as a lot of people know, Romero was not big on studio involvement, especially after his experience with this film. So it really sucks that was his experience. But really cool to hear the stories about Romero since he has passed, and just how other people experienced making the film. So yeah, it's still, if you are a fan of this film, this is a very good release. I would definitely recommend it, especially for those essays and the special features. It's just not one that I love, and I don't think it's one I'm going to end up keeping. But I have it higher than The Golden Child because I just think overall, as a release and a movie, it's better. So, The Dark Half. So going into my number 5, we have the triple feature of Iron Angels 1 through 3. This was their VSA release, and this is a pretty nice release. If you're someone who has been really wanting to see these films, this is a definite buy for me. I will say that I like the first one the most, and then the second one, and then the third one, basically. Although, actually, I might like the third one a little bit more than the second one. Second and third feel pretty similar because the pacing really slows down in the second and third. The first one, pretty good pacing. The second and third, it's like they kind of start to feel like they're losing their way. And they're actually, again, there's an essay booklet in here. There's an essay kind of talking about how as the films go on, it becomes less and less focused on the girls with guns aspect of it, which is what the first one is basically all about. It's like, look at these badass women, these Iron Angels. And what they're doing in the film is they're fighting drug lords, basically, because in the beginning, there's this big operation that takes down this poppy farm and some really wild action sequences. And then it's the person behind that who's kind of going after individually all these people who are involved in the takedown. And then they call in the Iron Angels to kind of take care of the situation. So it's not a whole lot of story to it. There are some kind of like interesting, quirky characters to it. There's a lot of fun action sequences, a lot of blowing up things and guns. And yeah, the first one's a really great Girls with Guns film. The second one, it starts to wane a bit. The third one, it starts to wane even more. Although the ending of the third one is pretty great. And they pull out some really wild stuff like jetpacks with machine guns that seem to never run out of ammo. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, I think this is a must buy, honestly. And the essays are really good. Special features are not the greatest, I'm going to be honest, because there is some good information in the special features, but the audio, they had a lot of issues with the audio on their special features. It sounds terrible. Really echoey and just not clean, just bad audio for those interviews. So I don't know what happened there, but I do expect better of Vinegar Syndrome for stuff like that. But I guarantee it's, kind of whoever they contracted out to go get those interviews. But still, that's not great. But this is a very good release. Otherwise, I really did enjoy it. So Iron Angels 1 through 3 is my number 5. And I almost put my number 4 behind the Iron Angels release, but I don't know. I'm sorry. It's summer allergies, but it just kind of, I don't know. I kept thinking about this film for numerous reasons. So my number 4 is Charlie One Eye, and this was their VSL, their Labs release. This one is a very interesting Western. It's kind of more of like an art housey Western. It deals a lot with race, which is a very weird thing for this time frame. This was from 1973. And it has Richard Roundtree in it, who was Shaft, which I haven't seen any of the Shaft films, and I feel like I really should. And actually, after seeing this, I want to see a lot more Richard Roundtree, honestly. But the performances are awesome. Not just Richard Roundtree's performance as the main character, but Roy Fiennes, who also does a really great job. But it's basically about a former Civil War fighter who's an African American who ended up betting one of a white guy's wife was found doing it. He ended up killing the guy in a scuffle, and then the law is after him basically. So he escapes to Mexico, where he meets up with this Native American who is disabled, and they have this kind of like very contentious first meeting, and there's a lot of tension, and they don't know how to feel about each other. But during the course of the film, it's about them starting to trust each other basically because they have to, and then also starting to see in each other that they're both very marginalized people, and they're at the bottom of society together, so they really need to kind of band together. But it is a very interesting film for that reason. It feels very funny at times and heartbreaking at times, and it's just really well shot, and like I said, the performances are excellent. There is animal cruelty in it in the beginning and the end of the film, so do with that what you will. And actually in the special features they kind of talk about the end sequence animal cruelty, which was not great, but good special features, a really great essay. There's only one essay in here, but a phenomenal essay about the significance of this film and kind of, digging deeper into its themes. And I don't know, this was just really great. One of the other things I want to shout out that Vinegar Syndrome's not done before, and I think they should do more of, they had an interview in their special features with the last director who worked with Richard Roundtree. And it was for this film called Thelma, which I've been wanting to see. And after seeing that, it let me know so much more about Richard Roundtree at the end of his life, but also makes me want to see that film even more. It was already on my list, so I think I'm bumping it up. But yeah, Charlie One Eye is a very good release that I think a lot of people are probably sleeping on. So definitely check that one out. That's my number 4. Now going into number 3, and it is the William Friedkin film Jade. Had a lot of fun with this one. This is one of those kind of so bad it's good, but also kind of good films. Kind of like Resurrection that they put out with Christopher Lambert in it. That Seven knockoff. So Jade is basically about a woman. Let me backpedal. It's about a murder that ends up happening in the beginning to someone who is very high profile, and then the assistant district attorney who comes in to kind of try and investigate the situation, who killed him, leads back to some sex work, and they're looking for a specific woman who keeps coming up called Jade, and it's about, it's a crime procedural trying to figure this out. But it's got David Caruso as the lead actor, and I don't know about everyone else, but I kind of like his acting. I kind of feel myself getting lost in it, and it's very enjoyable, but at the same time he's always overly serious, and that comes off as a little bit ridiculous and funny to me at times, and I feel it in this film. There's a really great car chase sequence in this film. It looks really good. It's really well shot. There's a lot of sexuality to it that can be kind of shocking at times that you just wouldn't assume they're going to add into the film, which I like about it. This was a Joe Esterhaus written film, who also did Showgirls and why am I blanking on other stuff he did? Basic Instincts, stuff like that. So he was a big name at the time. This film didn't do great, but what I got from his interview and the special features, which are great, he did not like what William Friedkin ended up doing with the film, because Friedkin kind of took his liberties, and he didn't scrap the script for it, but he actually changed a lot of the film, and Esterhaus did not like that. I love interviews with Esterhaus. They had one with him for Showgirls as well, and I think there was one other release that they did with him. But his interviews are great. So Jade is a really good release. Great special features. The essays are awesome, and they just kind of talk about the sexuality of it and that time period, and kind of how it kind of pushed bounds. And then there's stuff about William Friedkin in here, which by a lot of accounts is not a great person to work with. He's a very I think he's passed, was a very self-aggrandizing individual. But you do get the softer sides that are talked about when it comes to him. My cat is making a lot of noise for some reason. Very weird. Anyway, this is a very good release. I am a fan of this one. Quite good. So Jade is my number 3. Check it out. Then coming in at number 2, and a lot of people are going to be shocked I have it up this far, the Dirty Work release. A lot of people complain and were just like, they're putting out a comedy, let alone a comedy that's not super old. So I am with a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of the case artwork, but the other artwork is nice. I do like the other artwork. But this is a really, really outstanding release. Basically, Dirty Work is about a guy and his friend who are kind of down on their luck. The father of the one ends up needing a heart. I think it's a heart transplant, and they need to come up with a lot of money real fast. What have they been good at all their lives? Pulling pranks. So they open a company called Dirty Work to do like revenge pranking, basically. And it's a comedy. It's a Norm Macdonald done comedy. And so if you know Norm Macdonald's comedic style, it's steeped in that. I always thought he was really hilarious. It was directed by Bob Saget, who I think did a really good job with the directing. And one of the biggest things about this release in particular is that there's a brand new cut to the film that's released with this. And it's a longer cut that has kind of more crude aspects to it, because this ended up getting cut down to a PG-13 when it was released. And you do have the option to watch it in the PG-13 version, but the longer version is better. There are the ending, I think, this like alternate ending they had in the special features, I really enjoyed. I thought that was pretty funny. Don't know why that didn't stay in. It wasn't that bad. And yeah, some really great essays about specifically Norm Macdonald and his career. Also Bob Saget and his career, and kind of eulogizing those two to a degree. So they're excellent. Really good special features talking about the two individuals and just like the making of the film and how important this film was to Norm and to Bob Saget. And so there's a lot of feels that you can get hit in when you're going through the special features and the essays, and I did to a degree. And it's just a great comedy that I think a lot of people underappreciate, and this is a wonderful release of it on 4K. Really great. I was very excited to see that they were going to be releasing it, and when I went through all the special features and essays and everything, I liked it even more than I thought I would like the release. They put a lot of work and time into this one. So Dirty Work release is my number 2. So that a lot of people can probably figure out what the number 1 is. And I'm going to be honest, this is, for me, for their 2025 releases so far, the best release from Vinegar Syndrome, period. And that's including DeGosser, Cinematograph, all that. Let's Scare Jessica to Death. This is unbelievable. Now, I know a lot of people complained about this box art too, but at first I looked at it, I was like, but then the more I would look at it, I'm like, yeah, actually I like it. I'm into it. So, this is a phenomenal film, first off. Apparently, it is one of Stephen King's all-time favorite films, and if you watch it, it's very easy to tell why. This is all about creepiness and atmosphere, feeling kind of confused about what's actually going on, feeling a bit delirious as you watch the film, questioning the perspective of it, and by the time you get to the end of the film, you're like, maybe I have some theories on what's actually going on here, but I'm not 100% sure. So it lingers with you, and it just keeps you thinking and makes you try and think back to little hints within the film that can lead you in the direction of what was actually going on and kind of piecing that puzzle together. And I love films like that, and this film is totally like that. The performances are great. It's about a woman who has gotten out of a mental institution because she had a mental break, because she's dealing with a lot. And she and her friends kind of go away to this secluded house in this kind of small community that has some tales around it about, things that happened around the house and things that have happened in the community. And so it kind of sets up this creepy atmosphere and this kind of like feeling of unknown going into it. And they just maintain that through how it's shot, how it's scripted, how it's acted, the score, all that stuff. It's a total immersion of those types of things with this film, and it's breathtaking in that sense. Now, when I originally watched this film, and I did a full-on review, like spoiler-filled full-on review of it, you can find it on my channel. I had an idea of what I thought was happening at the end, but through going through the special features and specifically the awesome essay booklet, it led me in a different direction. Although it also kind of talks about how there are numerous ways that you can interpret this film. And I love that about it. That's one of the great things. And it's one of those films that, especially after you read the essays, you're like, I want to go back. I want to watch more. I want to see these little moments that they're talking about that kind of like hint to you what's going on with this film. It's an incredible film. It's an incredible release, primarily because of the essays. The essays do so much analysis of this film in such an interesting way, including an essay in there that talks about the why the film feels and is the way it is because of the time period and how that kind of ends up getting rolled into what was going on then, coming right out of the 60s, because I think came out in 1970, but coming out of that kind of like sexual freedom of well, not sexual freedom, but like trying to get into a more liberated society in the 60s and then feeling like it failed in the 70s, and everything that they ended up running into after that in the 70s, society in general, and how that kind of plays into the script and the writing of it. Like, those are the types of things I love the most. And so when that type of stuff shows up in like the special features and the essays, it really gets me, because I'm all about looking at films in the context of the time that they came out and what society was like and what society was dealing with at that time. So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about this release. I mean, I obviously said it's their best release this year. It's one of my favorite releases ever from Vinegar Syndrome at this point, honestly. And I think it's one that some people might be sleeping on, because a lot of people have not seen this film, let alone heard of this film. All the time I talk to horror fans and I'm like, have you seen Let's Scare Jessica to Death? And they're like, I've never even heard of that film. So glad that it got this release that it deserved. And I really hope it ends up finding more people. So number 1, Let's Scare Jessica to Death. And I did it. There it is. Would love to hear your opinions on these films, if you've seen them or if you want to get them or whatever. You can put that down in the comments. But like I said at the beginning, if you could support me, if you like this video or any video, the free ways, I really appreciate the subscribing and the thumbs up on it and hitting the notification bell button. But if you do want to go a little bit further and do the membership, you can do that. Link in the description, like I said. And comments. Let's talk about stuff. So excited to see what they're going to release for July. But I have a feeling it's going to be, it's definitely going to be a lot less releases, because they go hard on their halfway to Black Friday sale. I think it's also going to be a little bit less exciting, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll have my haul video that comes out when I get those, and then I'll also have my rating and ranking video like this one. So you can look forward to that if you like these. But regardless, thank you so much for your time watching this, and until next time, keep it brutal.